Talking self-custody today, many people will ask hardware, software. How do those work? What's the difference, and what are some of the new innovations that are happening in the space? Well, we decided, hey, let's get in and dive a little deeper on where the software wallets are emerging to and essentially kind of growing in the aspect, because I think what's happened here recently, obviously with the security aspect, but I think also the attachment to what's been happening in the NFT market, there's a handful of software wallets that have really started to make some moves. We'll talk about that today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Joining me today is Brandon Millman, who is the CEO and co-founder of Phantom. We've had him on the show before. Welcome back.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, so let's get into it, Brandon. Phantom, I would say right now with your most recent updates, now teetering on what could be one of the best, if not the best, software wallet out there. I've had a chance to see it. We've tested it here in our own crypto pit. A lot of really cool features and advantages and benefits that you guys have been doing over the past few months. Let's talk about the first and biggest change, and that is the move to ETH and Matic. First of all, congrats on that. I think that was a great thing, is to get the cross compatibility into the wallet. So what were some of the things you guys were kind of developing, and how far do you think this will go for Phantom as a whole?
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, thanks, Paul, again for having me on. Super excited to talk about everything that we've been doing with Phantom, how it relates to the current crypto market and all that, and yeah, just excited to get into it. But yeah, like you said, Phantom is a software-based cryptocurrency wallet, traditionally for the Solana ecosystem, and over the past couple of years has basically emerged to be the number one preferred wallet of the Solana ecosystem. But for the past couple of months, we've been working really hard to basically take all the learnings that we've gained over time on the Solana ecosystem and bring those and package them all together into an amazing multi-chain experience. So our goal is to really bring those learnings and create the safest and most easy to use wallet to access any application across crypto or Web3, whether that's a DeFi application or an NFT application.
So Ethereum, I would say, we cover all the layer twos on the Polygon side and many others that have started to integrate in. Ethereum continues to kind of be one of the key elements around kind of what the future is. But one of the things, Brandon, I want to kind of jump to here is size and scope of these projects. So if you look at Metamask, you look at a handful, including Coinbase Wallet, many others who've had some slight success, and then you have Coinbase with their wallet as a service. So we're starting to see kind of these splinter aspects. How big is the ecosystem for the Phantom wallet? How many users? What's the size of it? What does this look like for growth?
Yeah, so right now, Phantom has a little over 3 million active users on the Solana ecosystem only. And it's a bit hard to tell exactly with the data out there, how big the overlap that is with the Ethereum market, how
Right.
big the Ethereum market is. There's I think the last reported figures from Metamask are around 21 million users. It's hard to tell how much of those are active, how many are actually transacting. But I'd say we're probably, if I had to guess, roughly 10 million wallet users out there today, which, to put in perspective is still a very small amount compared to sort of the Web 2 giants out there.
Okay. Well, I think once you really start to see some migration and people realizing that they can, utilize the Ethereum chain within Phantom. And, first of all, the way that you guys display NFTs, absolutely fantastic. I think it's still the best experience out there. And I'm intrigued with kind of how this is rolling. You look at this story right here. I was kind of talking a little bit about the NFT project completes the migration, 77% migration to the Polygon blockchain. Now with Polygon, we've already seen a lot of movement already within the NFT and digital collectible space. That's going to bring in a lot of opportunity for Solana and also, I should say, for Phantom. when you look at the scale of what the market could bring, which still at this state is very, very small, what are you guys going to do to be able to handle that kind of market explosion, really, that could be happening in the next 18 months?
Yeah. So yeah, like I mentioned, we went through a trial by fire of sorts during the sort of last bull run, where during the peak of the market during the end of 2021, we were actually ingesting about 100,000 new users per week, all the way up basically from zero to millions in a matter of months. And through that time, we've actually been able to build not only the software and application part of the business, but also the operational side of the business. So for example, one huge thing that we pride ourselves on that's often overlooked with crypto applications is our customer support organization. And so
Right.
right now, the state of the art of customer support in Web3 or crypto is to have a Discord, send people over to Discord, and just have them try to contact customer support. And that's actually a very poor model to use because
Exactly.
it actually promotes like the proliferation of phishing and scamming. And so
Hmm.
one of the things that we've done is actually very early on created a professionalized customer support function, and that means that the function has goals. It has metrics that it continuously monitoring, including like median time to resolution,
Right.
um, number of tickets ingested, and things like that. And so we actually have this whole machine going that I think will greatly benefit us to be able to handle any sort of user load. And that's all that's all non-technical stuff. Obviously, on the technical side, we've also gained a lot of insight around how to technically scale internet-based products. But something that's often overlooked is sort of the operational aspect.
I think that's good because when we see the next real growth cycle coming into digital collectibles and into crypto in general, I think this may be the actual mainstream adoption cycle. In the previous cycle, many people were kind of looking at it as a possibility. I was still very skeptical. It was just felt, and it still feels too new. But the difference that's happened in the last 18 months is the amount of new brands, big brands that are starting to move into this space. So it's already getting enough credibility from that. So I think it will open up. So the fact that you're using, a SaaS style approach toward customer service like a Zendesk or something like that, those are going to be very helpful, especially for the newbies coming into the space, because that's the kind of thing they expect when it comes to customer service. When you talk about the demographic, is this the crypto NFT native that you feel is going to be your core audience and core customer base? Or do you think this may flow into more DeFi and possibly new adoption in terms of users?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to look at it. So, um, thinking about the user base has a lot to do with where we are at in the current market cycles. So, in bull market cycles, it's all about there's a flood of new users. How do we be ready to capture, or
Right.
how do we be ready to accommodate all these new users? In these down market cycles, it's a little bit more zero sum. The tide sort of washes out, and you're left with the users that are here. So it's a little bit of a balancing act between catering to a lot of the crypto natives while also being ready to capture sort of the next wave. And so right
Yes.
now we are focused, I'd say this year focused primarily on catering to a lot of crypto power users, but sort of building up our muscles in areas like customer support, scaling, et cetera, to be able to capture sort of the next impending wave.
Good move. I think that's, and it's natural. This is kind of the evolution of any new tech that starts to see these scalable adoption periods that are happening right now with Web3. So definitely on the forefront there. Let's talk a little bit about all the, the chains that are out there. You look at cross compatibility, the ability to be multi-chain. That's super important in a software wallet. You obviously have taken a huge step in moving to the Ethereum ecosystem and being able to offer that within Phantom. What about Binance Smart Chain? That would be the next one that I would say would be essentially making Phantom the ultimate software wallet. What does that look like for the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, right now we support three major chains. So that is Solana, Ethereum mainnet, and Polygon. And those three chains together represent what I believe to be the largest chain ecosystems out there
For sure.
at the moment, specifically in the realm of NFTs. But like you said, Binance Smart Chain is definitely out there. We are basically looking at all EVM chains specifically, and EVM means stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine, and
Yeah.
means any chains that are built on this Ethereum Virtual Machine model, and you can sort of think about that as sort of the operating system or framework that a chain is built on, and Binance Smart Chain is actually built on this EVM framework as well, and so. Yeah, this year it's going to be all about going after, for us, going all about going after EVM-based chains, of which Polygon is one, Binance Smart Chain, Optimism, Arbitrum,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
There are a number of chains out there that are not based on EVM. One of those, the largest out there, is Solana, which we already have
Yeah.
covered. There's a couple other families of chains popping up that we're keeping a close eye on. But in our opinion, the EVM market is the one to dominate this year.
Okay, so that being said, Brandon, I mean, you look at that and you say, all right, well, let's take a look at where digital collectibles are, and in essence, NFTs. Has Ethereum and Polygon pretty much just won this war? I shouldn't say war, just won the application scenario in terms of all the dApps, all the projects being developed on it. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's pretty much a given now?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think, like I mentioned, I think Ethereum and Polygon specifically are two chains that are built on top of this EVM framework. And in my opinion, it's much more accurate to say that I think EVM has emerged as the market leader around
Okay.
frameworks for developing chains. So I would agree with the fact that I think EVM has separated from the pack in terms of
Okay.
developer
Sure.
tooling, network effects, and all of that. Yeah, it's hard to see another major framework besides Solana being able to overtake EVM.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'd say.
What would you, okay, so with that being the case, I mean, because you're still developing on Solana, there has been outages, there's been issues around, especially around swaps. Is that something you guys are still working on? I'm sure you are, but how are you addressing some of those issues where we've had and seen a little bit of slowdown and or functionality within the swaps themselves within the wallet?
Mhm.
Obviously, that being Solana.
Yeah. Yeah, for Solana, we are still extremely bullish on Solana. I think Solana is the clear number two to EVM at the moment, and it's. I'm bearish on the fact that any other alternative L1 can be able to repeat what Solana did in terms of rise in the market. So still extremely bullish on Solana, and we work in terms of being able to help mediate certain outages and things like that. Well, first of all, I think the outages on Solana are maybe slightly overstated. A lot of these kind of like up and coming chains have had issues around
Sure.
stability, and really the the stability is actually an indicator of how like rapidly how how fast a chain is iterating on their technology. And that's actually one of the
Yeah.
initial things that drew us to Solana, is that they actually were not afraid of making big bets on their underlying technology and iterating quickly and learning quickly in order to better the technology. And that's actually something that, the founding team actually has a deep experience with Ethereum L1. That's actually something that actually quite bothered me about the culture there, is that it was not willing to be as experimental as some of the other chains, and that's actually what drew us initially to Solana. And so we work very closely with the Solana Foundation to help mediate any incidents like that. We essentially act as the front end for Solana, and like I
Okay.
said, like sort of like the customer support for Solana. And so we help them a lot with those types of incidents, but then we also help them push forward a lot of really interesting initiatives. For example, the Solana phone, which will be coming out soon, initiatives like Solana Pay, and things
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I mean, what we've seen with, just the ability for these companies tech-wise to be able to at least fail forward in the sense of, constantly break things, trying to do things especially at this scale where you don't have, mass market adoption yet, where there is a lot of pressure to be stable at that point. So I agree with you, is that we have seen Solana's been very good at that. So kudos to them. It'll be interesting to see how this rolls out into the next era of adoption for NFTs and digital collectibles. I have a few questions in terms of functionality when it comes to the app, and also potential here. So you look at integration into other devices outside of the mobile device, outside of the computer. Now we've seen projects going into NFTs, or excuse me, into TVs, NFTs within TVs. The LG project, a lot of what Blade Wallet is doing, HBAR, their partnership with LG. There's been some significant movement in there, and likelihood at the next CES, we'll see a lot more. What do you think about that? And is there any plans going forward for Phantom?
Hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I can't say that we have any specific TV or sort of like IoT related
Mhm.
strategy. Personally, I feel that there's still a lot of low hanging fruit to get picked up just on the
Sure.
mobile side of things. And so I'd say we're still pretty much focused on our premier offerings around Chrome extension and browser, and mobile apps. Something that we've considered doing is potentially moving more into like the desktop app category. So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
something maybe a bit closer to what we've been thinking about. But yeah, again, I'd say like there's still a lot of low hanging fruit on the mobile side.
What about things like you look at gameplay inside of devices now, all the way into what Ledger is doing, where you could literally play games within live. So the opportunity there within an app to kind of bridge that gap. I mean, you're already dealing with NFTs that might be interoperable with other games. What's that potential for where Phantom might be going in terms of gameplay?
Yeah, Web3 gaming is something that is super exciting, has a lot of momentum around. Recently had the great opportunity to meet a lot of gaming projects at GDC over here in the Bay Area a couple of weeks back, and yeah, something we're still keeping a close eye on. It's unclear what exact type of game and what format is going to be the breakout hit.
Yeah.
But something keeping a close eye on. And an interesting dynamic with games is that there tends to be these sort of breakout winners. And I think it's just a matter of time before one of these games sort of pops, and we see like what the ensuing like Web3 meta will be.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know there's been a lot of investment and a lot of teams working on this sector.
I'm still curious if that is going to be a track that Web3 takes. We saw
Mhm.
the evolution in Web2 where Facebook and their platform was perfect for seeding a lot of this game development within the Facebook ecosystem. And I just wonder if Web3 will kind of foster similar strategies out there I mean, obviously you've seen this now with a little bit in the way of hardware devices that are kind of going that direction. What about away from games, and now you think marketplaces? I mean, why not just plug in a marketplace? You guys have a great dynamic of how the NFTs are managed within the wallet. Magic Eden, it's perfect setup for just being able to go in there. Is that something you're doing, or is Apple the barrier right now with how all this marketplace scenarios could work?
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, we have a great partnership with the Magic Eden guys. We work with them very closely. We actually do have a direct integration in the application already where you can list an NFT directly onto a marketplace for sale from within Phantom. So you don't need to worry about you don't need to worry about actually going to the website and navigating like an advanced marketplace UI to do that. You can sort of just do it from directly in the wallet. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's a very great experience on mobile.
Yeah,
The dance that the crypto industry is playing with Apple is definitely an interesting one that we're keeping a close
right.
eye on. But yeah, it's important to mention that there's multiple platforms that were available on Android, iOS, and Chrome extension, and so we have large user bases across all three.
Okay.
And so we're not sort of, we're not totally at the whim of what Apple decides. But I think one important initiative to call out here is the Solana mobile phone,
Hmm.
which is going to be a very interesting development in the space. I think, and I think the goal there is not necessarily for the Solana mobile phone to necessarily be a commercial success in itself. And my take on the Solana phone is it's more of a way to show and not just tell. So it's a way
Right.
for to actually get like really sleek Web3 mobile experiences in the hands of users, and ultimately in the hands of employees at these large tech firms like Apple and Google, and show rather than just talk about like a really integrated crypto and mobile experience can look like. And I'm quite bullish that you know for that purpose, like the Solana phone will be uh, successful.
Yeah, it's the Trojan horse. I mean, it's been done before.
Mhm.
Android and Samsung has been notorious about that, releasing features that get picked up by other manufacturers, and
Mhm.
obviously Apple kind of trailing of what happens with Samsung. Let's go into kind of the next evolution of where I think experience is going to be AR, VR, 3D, all of that now flowing into aspects of what we see within the NFT and digital collectible space. What is that going to look
Mhm.
like in terms of the experience in the coming years for Phantom?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, actually, in the app currently, we do support NFTs of a wide range of different media formats. So, typically, when people think about NFTs, they think about sort of like the static image profile pictures. But in reality, NFTs can actually be much more rich than that. And so,
Sure.
in the app, we not only support images, but we support videos, and we actually support dynamic 3D models as well. So a developer can actually create a 3D NFT, and it'll actually show up at Phantom in this dynamic like 3D model viewer where you can actually like move it around, zoom in, and kind of look at all the different details. And so we've already dipped our toes into that area a bit with support there, and yeah, really interested in seeing all the experiments that come out of that.
Hey, Brandon, let's get into this a little bit, especially as evolution. You look at Microsoft, Google, they've kind of been in the forefront of developments in tech over the last decade. The opportunity here of wallets, most likely be in browser, and also the iOS applications. If you think about, not iOS, but in the Microsoft applications and what they stem into technology, and obviously Google with what they've done with Android. What would that look like in the future if we see wallets coming from those two companies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, so we've already seen maybe we've seen one of the major browsers already dip their toes into this area. So
Yep.
Brave actually has a
Brave.
built-in
Yep.
Brave has a
Well,
built-in wallet.
Opera has it as well, but Brave being much bigger
That's right.
for sure. Yep.
That's right. And I think, yeah, interestingly, we haven't really seen that much of an uptick in the Brave browser wallet, and most people continue to use sort of the big players like MetaMask,
Right.
ourselves. Um, I think there's a couple different dynamics at play. One, I think that the biggest winners in Web3 will be more grassroots and come from startups. And this is because bigger companies basically have a lot more to lose investing in crypto and Web3. It's a very thorny, not only technical endeavor, but it's also a very thorny regulatory endeavor as well. And so the dynamic that plays out there is that you have these small internal teams at these big companies that aspire to create crypto products, but end up running into a lot of red tape, a lot of sort of bureaucracy when they're trying to launch these things. And we haven't seen any large company actually successfully navigate that, because it requires not only a lot of buy-in at the top, but it also requires sort of this risk appetite that's like, hey, this product may actually, cause some damage to our main product line. And so I think that you'll actually see the biggest winners of Web3 emerge from startups like ourselves and smaller, more grassroots companies. And I think, yeah, also the startups are also more in tune with sort of the very fast moving and like shifting sands of the
The iteration.
environment.
Yeah, I would agree.
Exactly.
I would say that the
We talked
iteration
about all these
speed,
different chains.
yeah, for
Exactly.
sure
Yeah.
is definitely the case. I don't know though. I'm kind of on the fence. I've been tech for a while, and I saw a lot of the uptake of everything from mobile to podcasting. Even if you look at the acquisition of YouTube and what Google did within that ecosystem, taking on something that really was laden with copyright law infringement and a lot of problems, and then trying to build algorithms that didn't exist for discovery purposes. I feel like these companies are capable of doing that. Now, can they make the leap into Web3? I still believe that this is a real opportunity for the incumbents, the guys that have been here for a while. Now, whether or not they can do it, and if we do see true mass adoption in one particular category, whether it's a wallet or whether it's into exchanges or other aspects that might flow that way, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about whether or not this might be, grassroots or mainstream tech. I want to get into a couple other things real quick before I let you go. MetaMask experience. We've used MetaMask for quite some time. It just seems to be getting worse. I don't know. And I think our audience even, the point is, why isn't MetaMask? Why do you think they're a competitor, I guess, just to a certain extent of you? Why do you think we're not seeing more advancements in the wallets themselves? What is it that's holding back these companies and projects?
Yeah. Well, yes, definitely. MetaMask is probably our number one competitor out there. And I will say, after the experience of building a wallet at scale, I've grown a lot more empathy and understanding for MetaMask and the position that they're in.
Sure.
The fact is that when you're developing a financial product that's securing, in MetaMask's case, probably billions and billions of dollars, you have to be very careful around the types of changes you make, and like practices around releasing software and security. So I can understand, some of the forces at play with why they're a bit slower to move, and a lot of it does have to do with safety and security.
Sure.
But I think that's not all that's at play. I think, you know, there they are just there's a couple of things. One, I think that they started off as a developer tool primarily,
Right.
and that's sort of baked into their like sort of DNA and ethos at that point. And once that DNA is built out, it's actually quite hard to disrupt or dislodge. And so I think that's the reason why you see them make a lot of product decisions that they do, is because they're actually thinking mostly from a developer angle versus like a true user angle.
Yeah.
And that affects not only like decisions within the app, but also the way that they communicate and build education and things like that. So I think that has a
Yeah,
big
I think
piece
you're
of it as
right.
well.
It definitely is, because there is a separation between, the dApps and the projects that kind of do embrace, new user experience and the ability to kind of enhance upon the user experience to create, a lot more engagement, which really if is kind of the gamification. If you look at just the Robinhood app and what they've been able to do with stock trading, very good examples of how apps should work in today's Web 2.5 environment, as we see things going forward. Last question, and then I want to learn a little bit about just quick on the roadmap, is you look at the potential here of where Phantom is going. Then you look at some of the achievements that Ledger has done from the hardware side. A lot of new innovation on Live. They're coming out with their Stacks product. What about getting into premium wallets where people are willing to pay for premium services? Like, I want to download the Phantom app and I want to pay, $10 a month or whatever that is, but I want a premium experience. Is that in the future of where software wallets might go?
Yeah, that's something super interesting that I think is actually quite underexplored in the crypto space, is this concept of subscription-based software or
Yeah.
subscription-based services.
Mhm.
And in theory, actually, it's something that should be a lot easier for us to experiment with, just kind of being so close to the payment flow, so to speak.
Right.
Like it wouldn't require a Phantom user to input their credit card. Like
Exactly.
they can just pay out of their existing wallet balance. And
Mhm.
so that's something that's super interesting and something that we actually have talked about a number of times internally. And I've harped a bunch on the customer support angle, but personally, as a wallet user, I would gladly pay $10 a month and have the guarantee that I like in a crisis scenario, for example, I can talk
Exactly.
directly to a real human being
Bingo.
over video. And so even that singular value prop, I think, would be enough to get me to pay. And so, yeah, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big one for being able to really go at scale. And we've talked about it throughout the interview, is that having some of those safety nets in place. One, because everybody's kind of already secure. I would say I've had fewer bank hacks than I've had wallet hacks in crypto. So I've been experiencing where our problems are within the early ecosystem of crypto. So I recognize it. So you can imagine someone that's new to the space, man, that could literally spoil them on the idea of crypto, and they jump right back over to Fidelity and say, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin and ETH and say my safe little brokerage account. So that's something that is going to be tough. 2023 roadmap for you, Brandon. What's coming down the pipe for Phantom?
So I'd say there's three main areas in that we're investing in. So one is multi-chain. So now that we've built out support for the three largest ecosystems out there, Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana,
Yeah.
definitely looking to continue to make that expansion in a very kind of deliberate and methodical way. So something that's really benefited us in the past is working very closely with chain foundations themselves to help push their visions and iterate on the technologies that they're developing. And safe to say that we're likely going to continue forming partnerships with key chain ecosystems, and expanding the number of different ecosystems that you can access from Phantom. So that's one. Two is continuing to iterate on the NFT experience that we have in the wallet. And so there's a lot of things that are still greenfield. So discovery is a huge thing. So once you're actually in the app, how do you discover new things to do, new drops, new mints, etc.
Right.
Tighter integrations with marketplaces and things like that. and like you said, like you alluded to earlier, like enabling new use cases for NFTs around, is it gaming, is it AR, VR? That's something that we have our eyes very closely on. And then the third is safety and security. And so didn't get to talk too much about what we do there, but we have a whole suite of different internal security features that we work on, and very excited to continue to push the boundaries there. And just to give you one quick example, because we're a browser extension, we actually have this very interesting ability to protect users from malicious websites, known malicious websites, by creating these like browser-wide interstitials that say, "Hey, don't use this website; it's malicious." Very similar to like an ad blocker or some of these like focus-based extensions that people use.
Right.
And so, yeah, looking to really beef up our capabilities there in protecting users from visiting malicious websites.
Well, I mean, Gmail has been very good about that. It's interesting.
Mhm.
A lot of the communications that we use enterprise with Google, and a lot of the communications we get, ironically, we get the notice that these email addresses are coming from, malicious and some of these are from very well-known entities within the crypto space. So it's kind of intriguing to where it's going. Hey, Brennan, it's always fun kind of breaking it down with you. I love to hear and see all of these innovations in the software wallets. Congrats to what you guys are doing out there. You definitely have been at work, so good job. I'm looking forward to some of the new stuff, man. It sounds like you guys are on a good track going forward. But thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Yeah, always fun stopping by.
You bet. All right, so you guys are tuned in over here on the podcast side of things. Make sure and jump over here to the YouTube channel where we break down these projects in depth as you get a chance to see a lot of our interviews. Sometimes we'll dive in with multiple analysts and we look at things a little differently here on this network. We really try to understand not only what the crypto natives want to know, and that is what are the best tools, what are some of the greatest projects, how is the market trend going, but it's also a great place for you new people who are learning about crypto for the first time. The first thing you want to do as you start to learn and get into crypto or digital assets or into these software wallets is just join our newsletter. It's very simple. Jumping into the Diamond Circle. It lives out on Substack. It's a fast growing newsletter out there. So make sure to just click the link down below. That's where you'll find us. And of course, if you want to reach me, it's out there on Twitter @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.